Imagine this. You are standing in a crowded room surrounded by faces you recognize but do not truly know. The air is thick with the hum of conversation, the clinking of glasses, and the occasional burst of laughter. Everyone is dressed impeccably, their words polished, their gestures rehearsed. They speak of promotions, of mortgages, of the latest trends and the safest investments. They are, by all accounts, successful. And yet, as you scan the room, you notice something unsettling. The laughter's too loud, the smiles too wide. The conversations are shallow, repetitive, almost mechanical. No one is saying anything that hasn't been said 1,000 times before. No one is daring to ask the questions that linger in the back of your mind, the ones that keep you awake at night. No one is challenging the status quo. No one is risking ridicule. No one is standing out. And then it hits you. This is not a gathering of individuals. This is a gathering of echoes. Why is it that society rewards conformity over genius? Why do we celebrate those who follow the rules while marginalizing those who break them? Why do we cling to the familiar even when it stifles our potential? Why do we fear the very thing that could set us free? Consider this paradox. Throughout history, the greatest advancements in art, science, and philosophy have come from those who dared to think differently. From Galileo challenging the geocentric model to Van Gogh revolutionizing art with his bold brushstrokes, from Marie Curie defying gender norms to Einstein redefining our understanding of the universe. It is the nonconformists, the outliers, the geniuses who have pushed humanity forward. And yet, in their lifetimes, many of these visionaries were met with ridicule, rejection, and even persecution. Why does society resist the very forces that drive its progress? Why do we punish those who dare to dream, to question, to create? The answer lies in a deeply ingrained psychological and societal mechanism, one that prioritizes stability over innovation, comfort over growth, and sameness over brilliance. It is a mechanism that operates silently, invisibly, shaping our thoughts, our behaviors, and our identities. It is a mechanism that convinces us to trade our potential for approval, our creativity for security, our individuality for belonging. But what if this mechanism is not as benign as it seems? What if it is not merely a byproduct of human nature, but a deliberate construct, a cage disguised as a safety net? What if the price of conformity is not just the suppression of genius, but the erosion of our very humanity? As you stand in that crowded room, you feel a growing unease. The laughter begins to sound hollow, the smiles forced. You realize that you are not just an observer in this scene, you are a participant. You too have played by the rules, followed the script, stayed within the lines. You too have traded a piece of yourself for the illusion of acceptance. And now the question burns within you. What would happen if you stopped? What would happen if you dared to think differently, to speak your truth, to embrace your genius? What would you lose? What would you gain? The room fades away, and you are left alone with your thoughts. The weight of the question presses down on you, demanding an answer. But the answer is not simple, nor is it easy. It requires you to confront the hidden forces that shape your life, to question the very foundations of your reality, to risk everything you have been taught to value. Are you ready to take that risk? Are you ready to uncover the truth? The journey begins now. To understand why society rewards conformity over genius, we must first confront a truth so uncomfortable that most of us spend our lives avoiding it. We are afraid of freedom. This fear is not irrational. It is not a flaw in our character or a failure of our will. It is a survival mechanism, deeply embedded in our psyche and reinforced by centuries of cultural conditioning. To see why, we must venture into the darker corners of human nature, into the realms of psychology, philosophy, and the collective unconscious. Let us begin with Carl Jung, who spoke of the shadow, the part of ourselves that we repress, deny, and project onto others. The shadow is not inherently evil. It is simply the part of us that does not fit into the neat categories society has created. It is the wild, untamed, creative force within us, the part that yearns to break free from the constraints of conformity. But because we fear the shadow, we suppress it. We bury it beneath layers of social conditioning, hoping that if we follow the rules, we will be safe. And yet, the shadow does not disappear. It lingers, whispering to us in our dreams, manifesting as anxiety, depression, or a vague sense of emptiness. It is the voice that tells us we are living a lie, that we are betraying our true selves. But instead of listening to this voice, we silence it. We distract ourselves with work, with entertainment, with the endless pursuit of external validation. We become experts at numbing our pain, at convincing ourselves that this is as good as it gets. Friedrich Nietzsche understood this dynamic well. He spoke of the herd mentality, the tendency of individuals to conform to the values and beliefs of the group, even when those values and beliefs are antithetical to their own nature. Nietzsche saw this as a form of spiritual slavery, a way of surrendering one's individuality in exchange for a false sense of security. The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. He wrote, "If you try it, you will be lonely often and sometimes frightened. But no price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself." But why is the price so high? Why does the tribe resist the individual so fiercely? The answer lies in the nature of power. Society is not a neutral entity. It is a system of control, designed to maintain order and stability. And order and stability require predictability. They require individuals to play their assigned roles, to follow the rules, to stay within the lines. Genius, by its very nature, is unpredictable. It disrupts the status quo, challenges authority, and threatens the established order. This is why society marginalizes genius. It is not because genius is inherently dangerous or destructive. It is because genius is uncontrollable, and what cannot be controlled must be suppressed. But the suppression of genius is not just a societal phenomenon. It is also a deeply personal one. Each of us carries within us the seeds of our own potential, the unique gifts, talents, and insights that make us who we are. And yet, we are taught from a young age to doubt these gifts, to hide them, to conform to the expectations of others. We are told that it is better to fit in than to stand out, to be liked than to be true to ourselves. Jean-Paul Sartre called this bad faith, the act of denying our own freedom in order to avoid the responsibility that comes with it. When we conform, we are not just betraying ourselves, we are betraying the very essence of what it means to be human. We are choosing comfort over courage, safety over authenticity, death over life. And yet the choice is not as simple as it seems. To break free from conformity is to confront the abyss, the terrifying void of uncertainty, of loneliness, of existential dread. It is to stand naked before the universe, stripped of all illusions, all defenses, all pretenses. It is to face the truth of our own mortality, our own insignificance, our own freedom. This is why so few of us dare to take the leap. This is why we cling to the familiar, even when it stifles our potential. This is why we reward conformity over genius. But what if there is another way? What if the abyss is not something to be feared, but something to be embraced? What if the very thing we are running from is the key to our liberation? The answer lies in the next stage of our journey. The suppression of genius does not happen in a vacuum. It is not a single dramatic event, but a slow, insidious process, one that unfolds over years, decades, even lifetimes. It is a process that leaves no visible scars, no obvious wounds, and yet its consequences are profound, far-reaching, and often irreversible. Consider the cognitive biases that shape our perception of reality. Confirmation bias, for instance, leads us to seek out information that confirms our existing beliefs while ignoring evidence that challenges them. This bias is not just a quirk of human psychology. It is a tool of social control. It ensures that we remain within the boundaries of accepted thought, that we do not stray too far from the herd. Then there is the bandwagon effect, the tendency to adopt certain behaviors or beliefs simply because others are doing so. This effect is amplified by social media, where the illusion of consensus is created through likes, shares, and retweets. The more people who endorse an idea, the more legitimate it seems, regardless of its actual merit. And so, we find ourselves caught in a feedback loop where conformity is not just rewarded, but celebrated. But the consequences of this conformity extend far beyond the realm of ideas. They shape our emotions, our relationships, our very sense of self. When we suppress our genius, we are not just denying our potential. We are denying our humanity. We are cutting ourselves off from the source of our creativity, our passion, our vitality. We are trading authenticity for approval, depth for superficiality, meaning for mediocrity. The psychological toll of this trade-off is immense. Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, argued that the search for meaning is the primary motivation in human life. Without meaning, we are adrift, lost in a sea of trivialities, distractions, and empty pursuits. And yet, conformity robs us of the very thing that gives our lives meaning, the opportunity to express our unique gifts, to contribute something of value, to leave a mark on the world. But the consequences are not just personal, they are societal. When genius is suppressed, progress stagnates, innovation slows, creativity withers. We become trapped in a cycle of repetition, where the same ideas are recycled, that the same mistakes are made, the same problems persist. We lose the ability to imagine a better future, to envision new possibilities, to break free from the constraints of the past. This is not just a theoretical concern, it is a reality we are living right now. Look at the state of our world. the environmental crises, the political polarization, the economic inequality. These are not just the result of bad decisions or bad luck. They are the result of a collective failure of imagination. They are the result of a society that values conformity over genius, stability over innovation, comfort over courage. And yet, there is a deeper, more insidious consequence at play, one that is rarely discussed but profoundly felt. It is the erosion of trust. When we suppress our genius, we are not just betraying ourselves, we are betraying each other. We are creating a world where authenticity is rare, where vulnerability is dangerous, where connection is superficial. We are creating a world where no one dares to be themselves, where everyone is wearing a mask, where no one is truly seen or heard or understood. This erosion of trust has far-reaching implications. It undermines our relationships, our communities, our institutions. It creates a culture of fear, where people are afraid to take risks, to speak their minds, to stand up for what they believe in. It creates a culture of cynicism, where people no longer believe in the possibility of change, of progress, of a better future. But perhaps the most tragic consequence of all is the loss of potential. Every time a genius is suppressed, a spark is extinguished. Every time a dream is deferred, a possibility is lost. Every time a voice is silenced, the world becomes a little darker, a little poorer, a little less alive. And yet there is hope. For every spark that is extinguished, another is waiting to be kindled. For every dream that is deferred, another is waiting to be realized. For every voice that is silenced, another is waiting to be heard. The question is, will we listen? Will we dare to break free from the chains of conformity, to embrace our genius, to unleash our potential? The answer lies in the next stage of our journey. The first step in breaking free from the chains of conformity is to recognize that the chains exist. This is not as simple as it sounds. Conformity is not just a set of external rules or expectations. It is a mindset, a way of seeing the world that has been ingrained in us since childhood. It is the voice in our head that tells us to play it safe, to follow the crowd, to avoid standing out. It is the fear of rejection, of failure, of being different. But what if this fear is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength? What if it is not something to be avoided, but something to be embraced? What if the very thing we are afraid of is the key to our liberation? To answer these questions, we must first understand the nature of fear. Fear is not just an emotion.